Hello, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm making a family favorite, and that is homemade potato rolls. These are a yeast roll that is so delicious. Listen, bread, how many restaurants do you go to just because of the rolls that they serve? I know we do. They bring those hot, delicious rolls with butter before you eat, and you fill up and you can't eat your dinner. I think there's some method to the madness there. Now, this is a simple, easy recipe. Don't let the fact that I'm using yeast in this scare you away. I'm using rapid yeast, so we don't have to proof it. This is going to go right in. There's no special instructions. It's just simple stuff. Now, I'm going to start with my wet ingredients. I have 1 1/4 cup of water. Now I'm transforming this water into milk, and I'm using this powdered milk to do that. This is what your commercial bread makers use. It's a wonderful staple to have in your pantry. You can make bread with literally pantry ingredients, and it's delicious. Now I'm going to go ahead and stir this. Now I'm just mixing this together, and now I'm adding 3 tablespoons of salted butter. You could even use oil if you choose to, but I think that the salted butter gives it such a great flavor. And this is going right into my milk. And what I'm going to do is microwave this. I let this sit in the microwave at high full power for a minute, and my butter hasn't quite melted yet, but I know it will. I don't want this too hot, because if it gets too hot, it's going to kill the yeast, and the yeast is one of the most important parts. Now let's talk about another important part, and that is the potato part of these potato rolls. I'm using instant potatoes, and this Golden Select is my favorite. Again, I'm adding more flavor to these rolls. Another great pantry staple. If you've got any leftover mashed potatoes, use them, but if you don't, these work just great. And I'm using 1/2 cup. Those are going right into my milk and my butter mixture. And I'm going to stir this up. And these potatoes are going to start coming back to life. And in the meantime, my butter is going to continue to melt. And let me just feel this. It still feels a little bit warm. That's one of the reasons why I mix together my wet ingredients first, because if it's a little too hot, then I can set it to the side and it's going to cool down. You're going to want this at a lukewarm temperature. I like to say it's going to be about the same as you would heat up a baby's bottle. Just that same warm but not hot temperature. All right. To the side it goes. Now, let's get started on the dry ingredients. Of course, I'm using bread flour, and this is my favorite bread flour. It's the White Lily. I just love White Lily everything. I think they make an excellent product. And 3 cups are going into my bowl. Now I'm going to keep my flour close because I might need a little bit more as I start adding my liquid. We'll see, but I'm starting with the 3 cups. Now I'm adding this rapid yeast. I love this stuff. I keep it in my refrigerator. It'll keep a good year. 1 tablespoon is going in. Now I have a tablespoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt. Now, I'm going to whisk this together. Just make sure that it's nice and blended. Now, for the wet ingredients. Let me just give this a stir. Make sure that my butter is melted. It is, and you can see how this is starting to thicken up with the potatoes. Now you can make this recipe without potatoes and you'll just have regular yeast rolls and they're delicious, but the potatoes give this a different texture, more depth in the flavor, and oh, they're just delicious. Now I'm gonna make a well in my flour mixture, and this is going all in at one time. I told you this was easy. No mixer. I'm just gonna stir this until it all starts coming together. There we go. I just stirred this maybe 10 or 15 times, and this is what I've got. I'm not done stirring though. I'm going to add 1 large egg to this dough. This is going to give it a richer, more decadent flavor, and it's also going to give them a beautiful yellow golden color. Now if you've got egg allergies, then you can just eliminate the egg. It's not absolutely necessary, but I will say you'll be glad you added it because it's really, really good. Now I'm going to stir this. I'm going to break the egg up, and I'm going to give this just a really good stir. This is the kind of job that I wish my husband was home for. But that's okay, I can build some muscle. See how that all came together? Now for the fun part. I'm gonna take just a little bit of flour, maybe about 1/4 cup, and I'm gonna put it here on my countertop. It's nice and clean. Just work with a nice, clean, flat surface. That's all you need. And I'm going to turn this out right onto that flour. Now, a little bit more of this bread flour. I'm just sprinkling it on top. And what I'm going to do is use my hands and start kneading this bread. This is going to take about 4 to 5 minutes. And I just have to say, I don't like using a mixer. If you want to use a paddle attachment on your mixer, then go right ahead and do that. But personally, I love to handle the dough. There's just something cathartic and very homey about kneading your own bread. I definitely think it gets back to our roots, you know. Now you can see what I'm doing here. I'm taking my hands and I'm really working just this part of my hands into the dough. I'm rolling it and then I'm pushing down. And then I'm taking my hands and I'm folding it over and pushing it down. And then I turn it and I start doing the same thing. Just pushing, rolling, and pushing. If you feel like your dough is a little sticky, then you can work some more flour into it. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to take a little bit and put just a tiny bit more on this because it does feel a little sticky. And what you're looking for is no stick. This should be easy to handle. It shouldn't stick to your hands. It should not stick to whatever you're kneading your dough on. It should be just a nice, clean piece of dough. This looks just right. I know it's done because it's not sticky. Everything is gone on my surface. Now I'm going to shape this into a nice ball. And I'm taking the bowl that I mixed everything in. I'm putting this right on top, and this is going to rest for 10 minutes. Just leave it alone, go clean up your kitchen, set your timer, and come back in 10 minutes. So I'll see you then. My dough has been resting. It's one of the things that I just love about this particular recipe is that really it takes an hour from start to finish. It takes a little bit of time to rest your dough, and it takes about 30 minutes to an hour for the dough to rise. So you're not just hours upon hours upon hours waiting for rolls. Now, as you can see, I am working my dough. And this will make a beautiful loaf of bread. If you want to make a loaf of bread and make sandwiches with it, then this recipe is perfect for that. I think everyone needs to know how to make bread. It's so important. And we've seen that during these last 2 years of COVID and just shelves being empty. Like I said, these are great pantry ingredients that you can keep. You don't have to add the egg to the recipe. If you have them, great. If you don't, this is still a fabulous bread that can be made with all pantry ingredients. Now, I found that it's easier to cut rolls when you roll your dough out. And I'm rolling it out into a log, and I just take my hands and I start in the middle, and then I push out front and back. Just as easy as that. It's not complicated, I promise. Okay, this is looking good. I'm cutting this into 12 pieces, and I'm going to start in the middle. If you start in the middle, you're going to get a more even cut. So I start in the middle with this, then I cut again in the middle of each side. So obviously I have 4 pieces, and I'm cutting each of my 4 pieces into 3s. They're not all exact, but they're close enough. This is as good as I can get. Now I have my 9 by 13 inch baking dish here. Now I'm rolling my dough into a ball. I'm just taking my hand is flat, and then I am rolling using this hand. It doesn't have to be perfect. As a matter of fact, you can put them in like this if you want to. Just put it right in your pan. And we're going with the rest of them. I'm going to show you a little something else. My husband loves kolaches, and with a little bit of this dough, 4 pieces to be exact, I'm just going to shape this into a round disc, and I have got some fully cooked sausage. This is deer sausage, which we love. It's such a great lean sausage, or venison. And I have just cut it in small pieces, and then I halved it because it works better. Now, I've also got some sharp cheddar cheese, and I'm putting that right on top of my dough, and then my sausage flat side down, and then I'm just going to close this up. There we go. And you want to make sure that you place these seam side down, smooth side up. You're going to need to cover them and let them sit in a nice, warm, draft-free place. Set your timer for 30 minutes, which is what I'm going to do, and I'll show you what's next. These are ready to go into the oven. Let me just show you. I let them rise long enough to where they're touching together, and this took about 30 minutes. And they already smell so good. Now I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and these are going to cook for about 20 minutes or until they're nice, light golden brown. I'll see you when these are done. Look at these gorgeous rolls. If you walked into my kitchen, you'd think you're in a bakery. It smells heavenly. I don't know what else to say. These took exactly 20 minutes to cook at 350. And oh, I've got some melted butter. And I'm just gonna put this melted butter right over the top. Now, let me get one of these. Look at this. This is what I call perfection. There's nothing better than fresh bread. Homemade fresh bread. Yum. Ooh, this is hot, y'all. Mmm. Mmm. Words could never convey how good this is. They're fluffy, they're moist, they're absolutely delicious. And you serve this with a little bit of honey butter. How good would that be? Now, I've just got to see how this kolache turned out. Ooh-wee. I'm not going to bite into this because I know this sausage is hot. Look at that. It smells so good. I know my husband is going to absolutely love them. Now, this is the perfect amount for a family gathering, but it's just my husband and I. And what I do is I freeze the leftovers. They freeze beautifully. They also reheat the next day beautifully. Just keep them at room temperature in a Ziploc bag and reheat them in the oven, and it's just like you pulled them fresh out of the oven. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope that you'll try these. They're so easy. You've got fresh hot yeast rolls in right at an hour. You're a blessing. Press that like button. Share this with your friends. Remember, Jesus is the bread of life. I'll see you next time.